Beneath the glitz and glamour of Hollywood lies a dark, gruesome tale, a tale of ambition, tragedy, and mystery that has haunted the city for over 75 years. This is the story of Elizabeth Short, a 22-year-old aspiring actress whose brutal murder became one of the most chilling unsolved crimes in American history. Before she became known as the Black Dahlia, Elizabeth Short was just a young woman with dreams. Born on July 29, 1924, in the Boston suburb of Hyde Park, she was one of 5 sisters. Growing up during the Great Depression, her early years were filled with hardship. Her father, Cleo Short, left the family when Elizabeth was just a child, faking his own death only to be discovered alive years later, living in California. The revelation crushed the Short family, leaving Elizabeth with lingering feelings of abandonment. Elizabeth's childhood wasn't easy. With no father figure in her life, she clung to dreams of escaping her small-town existence, yearning for the bright lights of Hollywood. By her teens, Elizabeth was already showing a flair for fashion and a love for the movies. Her dark hair and porcelain complexion made her stand out, and she quickly became known for her striking looks. But despite her beauty, life wasn't easy for Elizabeth. She was known to hop from job to job, relying on the kindness of friends and acquaintances to make ends meet. Despite the struggles, one thing remained constant: her dream of becoming a movie star. She moved to Los Angeles in the mid-1940s, hoping to break into Hollywood. But the reality of life in Tinseltown wasn't as glamorous as she had imagined. Elizabeth found herself drifting between cities, including Florida, and working odd jobs, waiting for her big break. Her allure wasn't lost on those around her. Elizabeth had many suitors and short-term relationships, but none ever seemed to last. Some described her as mysterious, others as troubled, but to many she was simply a girl chasing an impossible dream. On January 9, 1947, Elizabeth was last seen leaving the Biltmore Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. She had arranged to meet a man, though the identity of this man remains unknown. Witnesses described her as agitated, pacing around the hotel lobby as she waited. Then, just like that, she was gone, vanishing into the cold Los Angeles night. For 6 days, Elizabeth's whereabouts remained a mystery. Some believe she was lured into a trap, possibly by someone she knew. Others speculate that she may have gotten caught up in something far darker, perhaps a web of Hollywood corruption. On the morning of January 15, 1947, her body was discovered in Leimert Park, a lifeless, mutilated figure that would forever be known as the Black Dahlia. It was a typical January morning in Los Angeles when Betty Bersinger, a local resident, was out walking with her young daughter. As they made their way through the quiet streets of Leimert Park, they came across what appeared to be a mannequin lying in the grass. But as they approached, it became horrifyingly clear. It wasn't a mannequin at all. Elizabeth's body had been severed in half at the waist. Her skin was pale, drained of blood. Her face bore the grotesque marks of a Glasgow smile, her mouth cut from ear to ear, giving her a haunting grin. There were no signs of struggle or violence at the scene, and her body had been meticulously cleaned, leaving no fingerprints, no traces of blood. It was as though the killer had staged the scene, leaving behind a terrifying tableau for the world to see. As news of the discovery spread, the media wasted no time sensationalizing the case. Elizabeth Short, once an aspiring actress, was now forever immortalized as the Black Dahlia. Her nickname came from her penchant for wearing black clothing, as well as the film noir, the Blue Dahlia that had been released just a year before. The press coverage was relentless. Reporters dug into every corner of her life, often twisting details to sell papers. Some painted Elizabeth as a struggling actress who had fallen into the wrong crowd. Others cast her as a seductress, leading a double life. But amidst the rumors, one truth was undeniable. Elizabeth Short had been brutally murdered, and her killer was still on the loose. The LAPD launched one of the largest manhunts in the city's history, dedicating an entire task force to solving the case. But the investigation quickly hit roadblocks. The lack of forensic technology at the time made it difficult to gather evidence. The killer had left almost no clues at the scene, and the public's obsession with the case only fueled the confusion. Hundreds of suspects were interviewed, ranging from local criminals to high-profile Hollywood figures. One man even walked into a police station and confessed to the murder, only for investigators to realize he was lying. Over the years, the case would see more than 60 false confessions, with each one leading to another dead end. One of the most chilling aspects of the Black Dahlia murder is the long list of potential suspects. Over the years, investigators and amateur sleuths alike have developed their own theories about who may have been responsible for Elizabeth Short's death. Dr. George Hodel is perhaps the most infamous suspect. A wealthy and well-connected doctor in Los Angeles, Hodel was linked to other disturbing crimes, including the possible murder of his own secretary. His son, Steve Hodel, a former LAPD detective, later published a book claiming that his father was the Black Dahlia killer. Steve pointed to damning evidence, including a photograph in George Hodel's possession that bore a striking resemblance to Elizabeth Short. Then there was Leslie Dillon, a bellhop with a fascination for psychology and anatomy. Dillon was briefly considered a prime suspect due to his intimate knowledge of Elizabeth's injuries. He even claimed to have a split personality that may have committed the murder. But the police ultimately let him go, citing insufficient evidence. Other suspects include Mark Hansen, a nightclub owner who had known Elizabeth and was said to be infatuated with her. Some believe that he may have had a hand in her death after she rejected his advances. With so many suspects and so few concrete leads, it became clear that the Black Dahlia case would be anything but straightforward. Theories began to emerge that pointed to more than just one person being involved in Elizabeth's death. Some speculated that she may have crossed paths with an organized crime ring, while others believed that Hollywood's elite were covering up something far more sinister. Theories surrounding the Black Dahlia case have only grown more complex over the years. Some investigators believe that Elizabeth's murder was the work of a Buntsky and serial killer, someone who had killed before and knew how to leave no evidence behind. One popular theory suggests that Elizabeth may have been killed in a ritualistic fashion. Her body posed to send a message to Hollywood's elite or a secret society. The exact nature of this message remains unknown, but some have drawn parallels between her death and other unsolved murders in Los Angeles during the 1940s. Others believe her murder may have been connected to the occult or ritualistic killings, especially given the strange, methodical way her body was arranged. There's also a theory that ties Elizabeth's murder to the infamous Cleveland torso murders, a series of unsolved killings that took place in Ohio just a decade earlier. Both cases involved the gruesome dismemberment of the victims' bodies, leading some to believe that the Black Dahlia's killer may have been a traveling serial killer who struck in multiple cities. But perhaps the most far-reaching theory is one that suggests that the LAPD themselves were involved in a cover-up. Some theorists argue that certain officers within the department or protecting high-profile individuals who may have been implicated in Elizabeth's death. This would explain why, despite the massive investigation, no one was ever brought to justice. Elizabeth Short's murder didn't just leave a scar on her family, it left a permanent mark on American culture. Over the decades, the case has seeped into the collective consciousness, inspiring movies, books, art, and even music. The 2006 film The Black Dahlia, directed by Brian De Palma, brought the story back into the spotlight, and authors like James Ellroy have used the case as a springboard for their own explorations of Hollywood's dark underbelly. But beyond the headlines and Hollywood dramatizations, Elizabeth Short's story remains a cautionary tale about the dangers lurking behind fame and ambition. Her life, once filled with dreams of stardom, was cut short in the most tragic way possible, turning her into an unwitting symbol of lost innocence. In recent years, advances in forensic technology have breathed new life into old, cold cases. Could the Black Dahlia murder be next? Investigators are now using tools like DNA testing and genealogy databases to re-examine old evidence. Though much of the physical evidence from the original case has been lost or destroyed, modern detectives are optimistic that they may eventually uncover new clues. One such breakthrough came in 2013 when a retired detective claimed to have identified the Black Dahlia killer through DNA testing on an old letter sent to police. While this revelation hasn't yet led to a conviction, it raises the question: could we finally be on the verge of solving one of the greatest mysteries in American crime history? The Black Dahlia case continues to fascinate, terrify, and haunt us to this day. While many have tried to piece together the truth, it seems that the final puzzle pieces are still missing. Elizabeth Short's story, full of glamour, heartbreak, and tragedy, serves as a stark reminder that sometimes the most famous cases remain forever unsolved. As we wrap up, I want to know, what do you think happened to Elizabeth Short? Could there be new clues that we haven't yet discovered? Leave your thoughts and theories in the comments below. And if you want more deep dives into the world's most unsolved cases, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. This case may be cold, but with your support, we can keep the conversation alive. And who knows, maybe one day the truth will finally come to light.